Hello, good people of YouTube. Mountbatten here, and it's Monday. You know what that means? It's time for me to count backwards from 5 to 1. This week, going over my top 5 overpowered ships. Some of these ships are quite old and have been removed from the game. Some of these you can still acquire in a few ways, either with a whole lot of luck or some cashola. We'll be going over that as we go through these ships. But before we do, this video is brought to you by yesterday's video. The Battle for Leyte Gulf cinematic that we've been working on for the better part of 6 months came out yesterday. So if you like those cinematic recreation videos that we've done in the past, like the Hunt for Bismarck, Jutland, so forth and so on, I would highly encourage you guys to check out that video. Like I said, myself and others put a whole lot of time into creating that video and getting it out. So I would highly encourage you guys to check it out, especially if you like, those historical recreations that we've done in the past. But with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get on into it. Coming in at number 5, we have one of the few outright broken German ships in game, and that is the Konig Albert, which is a Tier 3 premium German battleship. Now you might be thinking, Sealord, Tier 3, woo, who cares? Well, Konig Albert owners care because this ship is absolutely just nuts at Tier 3. Now, Tier 3 is a tier where most ships don't really do that well, putting it nicely. Most Tier 3 ships just kind of suck. Usually in just about every single way imaginable you can think of, Tier 3 ships are just garbage. I mean, it's where, most lines really start. You get through the, Tier 1, Tier 2, which are just destroyers or maybe a cruiser. Then Tier 3, you get more into, the battleships, the destroyers, the heavy cruisers, so forth and so on. So when you take what is a Tier 4 ship, essentially, and put it at Tier 3, where it's now in protected matchmaking, fighting against mostly newer players or bots, it's going to do exceedingly well. And there's not a whole lot different from the Kaiser to the Konig Albert. Like, it still has 43,000 HP with the flag, which is well in excess of, 10,000 more HP than what other Tier 3 battleships have. It still has those Tier 4 guns, so they're more accurate and better in a lot of ways. So, yeah, this is like the dream battleship for a lot of battleship drivers, because you can just smack W and just go for it. You've got good armor, good HP, great guns for the tier. I mean, literally in the background footage here, I'm sailing circles around the Von der Tal, one of the actual Tier 3 tech line German battleships. I know it's a battle cruiser, but the game classifies it as a battleship. All right, calm down in the comments. But I promise you, we do the same thing to the Nassau. This thing could drift around the Nassau, just beating the hell out of it, because that's how good the Konig Albert is. You can still get it, I believe, in the Battle of Jutland containers, which you can get for coal. If you buy the premium ones, obviously you have a better chance of getting it that way. I do believe she is still in super containers as well. Regardless, if you do manage to get this ship in a super container, in a Jutland container, or in whatever container it's in, or if it goes on sale, it is well worth picking up if you just want something to go beat the crap out of Tier 3 bots or newer players. It's the Sil Clubber's dream, right? And of course, since the premium ship, it's nothing to toss. Lucian's on here now. You have a 21-point commander on it, which is just kind of absurd, right? So yeah, Konig Albert, if you got a great ship. If you ever pick her up, you've won the lottery for sure in the game, and you got again one of the few German overpowered ships. All right, going all the way down now to number 4. Speaking of lower tier broken ships, we have the Nikolai I, which is probably, honestly, the best poster child for Russian bias in this game. Good lord, you hear all about, Petropavlov, Smolensk, Kremlin back in the day, Slava. Yeah, those ships are strong, or they started out, their life in this game as really strong and really overtuned, but they've been scaled back. Wargaming has not touched the Nikolai. They have refused to nerf this thing throughout the years, and this thing is genuinely just absurdly good at Tier 4. Now again, Tier 4, who cares? Look, this thing is nuts. Actually insane. The only reason it's at number 4 on this list is because it is a Tier 4 ship. I put it at number 1. People would complain that, oh, it's just a Tier 4 ship. It's, nobody plays that. This ship is seriously cracked at Tier 4. So what makes it so cracked? First off, 2.0 Sigma. On a Tier 4 battleship, 2.0 Sigma with dispersion that is some of the best dispersion up until you get to like some of the more accurate Tier 8 battleships. This thing's guns are insane. Some of the dispersion that you get out of the ship, like you get a lot of those salvos where the shells just converge into like 4 or 5 pixels, which is insane at Tier 4. Which means if you can aim, unlike myself in the first half of this match, you are just draining threes, the Nikolai, and just blapping cruisers off of the map, chunking battleships for 10, 12k. Tier 4 battleships, right? The ships you can see in the Tier 4 matchmaking bracket at least, right? Like, this thing is just insane when it comes to the gun department. Not only are the guns good, the ship is also really well armored, and it doesn't have the stupid turret setup that like the Gangut and the October Revolution do. You don't get that number 2 turret that is for some reason pointing toward the back of the ship. Number 2 turret points to the front by default. So you don't have to spend time, having that turret take 6 years to rotate from one side of the ship to the other. You've got 3 turrets that are permanently facing forward, basically, or will be, pretty much facing forward. So you can use your very thick bow to just tank for days and get those 3 turrets on target. I need to say that you do have a 4th turret, so when you do get all 4 turrets on target, it is a real party at that point, because now you're lobbing 12 shells at the enemy team, and they're 12 very accurate shells, mind you. So Nikolai I, just great guns, great armor, great turret setup, so much better than, again, its same tier tech line counterparts, or the Soviet battleships that have come out since it. I mean, the amount of times that I've played this ship and have just walked over the enemy team, bots or not, is incredibly high because of how good this thing's guns are. Now, this ship is a bit more rare than a Konig Albert. I believe she is only in super containers now. So she's not in Christmas containers. She's not in any type of other event container. I believe it's only super containers, and maybe not even that. I'm saying that because I got this ship a few years ago in a super container, which was crazy. And it wasn't like a super container I got for like the festive rewards or anything. It wasn't during the anniversary event. It wasn't during the Christmas event. I just got a super container out of my out of my 3 daily containers, and boom, Nikolai I, which was crazy. Oh, also, of course, too, with Nikolai I, it's a premium ship, so you can throw commanders on it at will. And, of course, if you have Kuznetsov, now you've got a already really tough Tier 4 premium Russian ship. Then you have Kuznetsov's Pity Hill on it when you get to low HP, and of course the debuff to the enemy team's dispersion when they shoot at you, which is already terrible because you're going up against Tier 4 ships. Again, keep in mind, the dispersion in the back, like that, this is pretty good dispersion for like a Tier 8 battleship, alright? This is on a ship that's 4 tiers lower than that. Alright, like this thing is genuinely cracked. And, there's good reason that they've pulled it, because this thing would probably just force so many newer players to quit the game if there are a bunch of Nikolais I running out there beating the ever-living crap out of these poor guys that just downloaded the game. So, yeah, again, great Sil Clubber, really fun Tier 4 ship, goofy guns. You get all the Russian bias with the shells too, by the way. It's not just that like the guns are accurate and have good angles. You get the Russian biasness with the shell ballistics and such too. So, yeah, fantastic ship. If you got one, you're lucky. If you ever get one in the future, you are uber lucky. I'm honestly surprised they aren't stuffing this thing in like the Steel Will event for an absurd amount of steel, or thrown it in the auction for like $1 zillion, because they would definitely get that. They put this thing back in the auction. But speaking about things that they would definitely print money if they ever brought it back, we have our number 3 slot, which belongs to the Tier 7 premium British light cruiser, the Belfast. Now, the Belfast is in a really unique spot because we're getting to higher tier ships now, and even the most OP ships in the game at higher tier, eventually age does catch up with them. Stalingrad, for example. Great example of this. Stalingrad, when she came out, absurd ship. You have these rail guns for your main battery guns, these 305mm guns that seemingly don't miss. You get the Soviet shell ballistics with their fuse timer, which, by the way, if you don't know, the Stalingrad's fuse, and I think this is how a lot of the other large Soviet ships work too, like the Moskva and stuff. The ballistics are so good that the fuses have to be incredibly short, so that you don't constantly overpin the target ship. but the penetration is so good because the velocity is so good, you have enough bite to do a lot of damage to heavily armored ships, but because the fuses are so short too, you don't overpin light cruisers and cruisers as much as you really should with guns that have the ballistics that are as insane as the Stalingrad's, right? So yeah, you get that on a ship that's, got as much HP as like a tier 9 battleship, great armor, 12-kilometer radar, and DFAA and all that jazz, right? So that thing was insane when it came out. But now today, Stalingrad's just kind of like, it's pretty good. It's no longer, one of the single best ships in the game, but it's still a really good ship. Meanwhile, the Belfast, that hasn't happened to it. Because at tier 7, we haven't really gotten the gimmick creep like we have at, tier 8, 9, and 10, where it feels like, Hydro. Hydro used to be something that only a few ships got, usually what the German ships, right? But now it feels like every other ship that comes out has Hydro bolted to it, right? Radar's getting to that point too, and with combat instructions as well, So, yeah. But we haven't really gotten that at tier 7 just yet. There's been, a couple of ships here and there. They've got a couple of nice little consumables bolted to it, but still not quite to the level as the OG Belfast. The Belfast has smoke, radar, hydro, and HE shells all available at the same time, which is a stupid high degree of utility for a tier 7 ship. This means, you've got a light cruiser here with HE, mind you. The Belfast is from back in the day when it was illegal for the British ships to even think about loading HE shells into their guns. So that was pretty crazy. With smoke and radar and hydro. So like that right there makes it a great ship for, bullying the crap out of, just tier 7 destroyers for one thing, right? Let alone its ability to, smoke up and farm things down with its HE, which is really solid. And it still does have AP, so if it doesn't run across any other cruisers or anything, you can swap over to AP and chunk the living crap out of them, if not outright Citadel, some of the lighter cruisers. You still chunk, battleship superstructure and extremities pretty good with the AP as well, especially tier 7 or tier 6 battleships. And even if it did get, up-tiered into like a tier 9 game, you still have smoke, and you still have HE, you still have radar. Like, radar is pretty much great no matter what, right? So you just have such a high degree of utility here with the Belfast at such, don't want to say low tier, but, mid-tier setting where you still don't have a lot of radar or anything in today's World of Warships. So, like, it's still very much an excellent ship in today's game, and I would say still pretty overpowered for what it is. Again, so much utility on a mid-tier ship. And in the game, the background, it's very much putting in work here with all those consumables, with hydro, with the smoke, with the radar and such. We get a couple of destroyer kills because of it too. So yeah, great tier 7 premium ship. Definitely still one of the strongest ships in the game. Has very much fortunately not been power crept, because the day this thing is power crept, we got a real problem. Like, Stalingrad in higher tiers one thing, that thing's been like, that tier bracket's been kind of crazy for the past couple of years. But when that stuff starts, really leaking into low tier to the level to where Belfast isn't that unique anymore, yeah. Now, Belfast 43 is another ship that is in game. Don't get it confused with the Belfast. It's quite a bit different. Still a very good ship, though. Belfast 43 got buffed not that long ago. So, like, Belfast 43 is a pretty good ship, too, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the OG Belfast. This thing, I think, too, just got removed from Santa... I say just got removed from Santa Containers, but it was probably like 2 years ago. I do believe she still is in super containers, so again, if you get really lucky, you can get a Belfast out of one of those, I do believe. Yep, you can. Just put up the website. You can still get the Belfast out of the super container. Update on the Konig Albert. It's not a super container. Is still in the Battle of Jutland containers. You can get it there. Nikolai I has just been completely pulled. Alright, but going way down to number 2, a ship that we know is coming out in the very near future. We have the Tier 9 Pan-American battleship, the Valparaiso. This thing is just stupid. I mean, like, this is the single most gimmicky ship in the game by quite a far margin, in my humble opinion. So the Valparaiso is, well, it's what you gotta do to make the Vanguard relevant in today's World of Warships, which is very sad for many reasons. But it's a Vanguard that got sold to, what, Chile or Peru. And, well, apparently they just pumped it full of steroids or something, because this thing is cracked. The way it works is that it's a Vanguard with secondary guns that have American accuracy and fire rate. And when you get secondary hits with the Vanguard, you fill up your combat instructions. Now, what do your combat instructions do? Well, they decrease the reload time of your consumables by a stupid amount. It's like 85% or something like that. To where basically you have like 3 seconds or 5 seconds left on the cooldown time of your heal and your damage con. But Sealord, it's still a Vanguard at the end of the day. It's still a very squishy ship, and it did get an improved heal a little while ago, but it's not that good. Well, the Valparaiso super heal is that good. It is a super de-duper de-uber heal, because not only is it a heal that can regenerate like 2/3 of the ship's HP in the single push of a button, but it also does this in 8 seconds. So, if you are pushing into the enemy team and your secondaries are going, you're getting your combat instructions filled, you basically constantly have a super heal ready to go. You can get up to 8 of these, by the way. You get, 6, then you get 7 with Superintendent, then 8 with the other commander skill that gives you another heal for crossing a potential damage threshold, which you will pass the Valparaiso. So basically, this means if you are just walking at the enemy team, short of eating a broadside from like a Slava or like a Yami or a Main, or just walking into a bunch of torpedoes, you will simply not die. Which is obviously a problem if you're on the receiving end of a Valparaiso. So, yeah, this thing is beyond cracked. And it is coming back in the Still Fleet event at the end of this year. So you can get it in that event. It costs like, 39,000, 30,000 steel, something like that. You can get a 15% off coupon to get it for a little bit cheaper. But yeah, obviously a lot of players are waiting for this ship to come back because it is so stupid. Now, of course, if you have Mr. Joaquim, the unique Pan-American commander, you can even make this ship even more stupid. Because after you pop your combat instructions twice, which you're going to do in no time at all in the Valparaiso, you get a permanent 25% buff to the load time of your combat instructions, which means you get them back even faster, and you get a boost to the speed of your ship. Then after 175 secondary and main battery gun hits, which again you'll get in no time thanks to the accuracy and fire rate of the secondary guns, you get a permanent buff to the reload time of your secondary and main battery guns. So, yeah, this thing's broken, and they're going to sell it. They may nerf it in the future, but not till after the Still Fleet event, so just buyer beware. This thing is really, really cracked. Now, of course, a lot of the defenders of the Valparaiso say, well, the whole thing is that you gotta be in secondary range, so if you're not in secondary range, the thing is just a Vanguard at tier 9. And, yeah, I think that's the only point you can have in the defense of the Valparaiso, but, like, most Valparaiso commanders know, hey, if I get my secondaries going, I basically, I'm a Terminator, and I won't die until I've sunk half of the flank by myself, right? So, yeah, this ship is cracked, broken, stupid, whatever you want to call it, OP, and it is coming back. Now, speaking of a ship coming back, we have our number 1 slot, occupied by the Tier 10 German hybrid cruiser, the Hildebrand. Which, this thing is not quite as crazy as the Valparaiso, but it's a great example of one of the biggest problems the game is facing right now. And it's a problem that's going to keep getting worse. Did a whole video on this a couple weeks ago. See, the Hildebrand is a hybrid cruiser, and it's not like other hybrids where, it's the primary class first. Like the Kearsarge is still a battleship at the end of the day, just so happens to have a flight deck welded to it, so you play it like a battleship. The Hildebrand is a ship that you can play like a carrier, and it does great. It's got the great torpedoes that the Immelmann gets, the other rocket torps. You have the, the Parzival's dive bomber, HE dive bomber squadron with the teeny tiny reticles, so you can chunk battleships, cruisers, even destroyers for like 10, 13, 14, 15k if you're good with them. And the reload time of the torpedo planes is so short, if you build into it, it's just over a minute. You don't ever really need to use the main battery guns in the Hildebrand to do well in the Hildebrand. Now, the problem with this is that the Hildebrand is still a cruiser in the game's matchmaking system. The matchmaker does not make any distinction between, something like a Des Moines and something like a Hildebrand, which that was an issue back when, like, the Stalingrad first came out, right? And that's basically, Battleship Junior, right? But it still only takes up a cruiser slot. So something like a Stalingrad could get matched up with, like, a Worcester, which is obviously, two radically different things in terms of its armor, right? But, it's balanced by other means, according to Wargaming. But anyway, the Hildebrand it's still just a cruiser in the matchmaking system. So it's totally possible for you to get like 2 of these on the enemy team and not a single one on your team. And in a game where spotting is absolutely everything, that is so broken that the enemy team could have 2 basically carriers and your team has none. So that's where this ship is really cracked at, in my opinion. I mean, again, the planes are very good, don't get me wrong, and a good Hildebrand player, they can put on a lot of pain, right? But the fact that you provide so much more spotting for your team, because you're setting up planes every minute and change, yeah, and after you get 33 armament hits with the planes, you get a boost to the reload time, to the regeneration time of your planes, if you have Lucians on your Hildebrand, which most do, right? So that's what makes the Hildebrand OP, because, you know, like in the background match, it's not a CV game, but I'm on the friendly side, and there's no hybrid ship on the other side, so I'm just providing even more spotting for my team that the enemy team just does not get, because planes are obviously, you know, they travel way faster than ships do. And even with the nerfs to plane spotting here recently, it's still, you know, a huge tactical advantage that your side gets that the other side simply does not get. So Hildebrand just came back from the auction. Thankfully, the auction wasn't as crazy as I thought. I mean, it's still kind of crazy because people paid 43,000 doubloons for the thing, but the winning bid was the minimum bid. So hey, at least, you know, no one coughed up like 60 grand for it. Well, 60,000 doubloons for it, right? But yeah, this ship is I don't like it. I know a lot of you guys don't like it, and thankfully apparently wasn't that popular in the auction, so we'll see if Wargaming keeps pushing the envelope with these hybrid ships going forward. But anyway, guys, let me know what you guys think about this list in the comments down below. Again, make sure you check out Late. Link to that will be in the description down below, as well on this end screen here that's about to pop up. If you guys enjoyed, make sure to drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, all that jazz. Hope you guys have a wonderful Monday and wonderful rest of your week. Hope to catch you guys in the next one.